Welcome. This is a presentation about the benefits of multi-story agroforestry and how the AgroforestryX design tool can assist in realizing these benefits and transform agroforestry visions into reality. This tool was inspired by our experiences with traditional agroforestry strategies from the Pacific Islands, the Americas, and Southeast Asia. Initially built to assist the NRCS USDA with workflow optimization for conservation projects developed for the USDA NRCS PIA mixed agroforest specification. This tool combines standard agroforestry practices for regenerative outcomes. The AgroforestryX tool works to integrate woody perennials, species density and diversity, canopy structural diversity, and stratification management through time. The tool assists the user in designing systems that build healthy, fertile soil, improve water quality, infiltration, and management, while enhancing and conserving biodiversity, ecosystem resiliency, carbon sequestration, and ecosystem regeneration. There are no recipes, rather site parameters. Since the initial launch of the AgroforestryX tool, there have been more than 2,000 projects created from over 50 countries. Most projects are not larger than 1 hectare, or approximately 2.5 acres. The total land mass covered by designs created is over 8.5 million acres. Most of the projects have been created outside of the U.S. affiliated Pacific Islands, showing a big demand outside of the Pacific region. Most common project patterns are 15-foot path width, patterns 1B, 2B, and 5B. Multi-crop, regenerative, multi-story agroforestry systems have many proven benefits, more than are listed here. Because of the complexity and diversity of these systems, they can be more difficult to design, install, and manage well without detailed planning and scheduled management. Right now, there are approximately 2.5 billion hectares of degraded lands in the tropics. Natural forests don't tend to self-organize into neat and tidy rows. The AgroforestryX design tool was created to organize the chaos of a natural forest system in order to simplify the management while increasing productivity. The results are systems optimized for ease of access to prune and harvest with minimum impediments. The complexity of mixing species of different life cycles are simplified using the design tool. The AgroforestryX design tool utilizes a simplified model of temporal and stratification designation. Each species is color-coded for the strata and time period to which they belong. This multi-story stratification concept allows for optimizing light infiltration and utilization through time. Management of these elements is critical to the optimal health and productivity of the agroforest. These are images of an indigenous multi-story agroforest in Samoa. The image on the right has the strata color-coded. Blue represents the emergent species, green is high, yellow is medium, red is low. Coding of the species strata in a multi-story agroforest allows for systematic design and optimized spatial relationships. In summary, the AgroforestryX design tool makes designing agroforestry projects quick and fun. You can visualize your design over time and create printed reports in Adobe PDF and Excel spreadsheet formats. The AgroforestryX design tool process has a logical flow from start to finish, guiding the user from site conditions to a final report that can be used for installation layout, nursery lists, and a project management guide. Here is a Google Earth map of Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands. Both are hurricane-prone islands of the Caribbean. Ecological succession is a process of soil production. In primary succession, alkaline rock substrate, i.e. lava, is broken into smaller particle sizes, making nutrition more available over time. Secondary succession begins in acidic clay soil produced during primary succession and slowly drives the pH towards neutral, where nutrition is optimally available. The rate at which this occurs is determined by temperature and moisture according to geolocation. Combined, these factors underlie species composition of a site. Here is a map of soil and life zones of Puerto Rico. Here is another map of life zones of Puerto Rico based on average annual rainfall and temperature. This diagram will be used for a brief conversation about regenerative standards for agroforestry systems. What these would look like are 100% ground cover and 100+% total canopy coverage. Change in percent soil organic matter from step to step. Change in soil pH. Change in stand density. The third step, accumulation, has the greatest stand density. The fourth step, abundance, has the greatest species diversity. The fifth step, climax, is the longest lived species. In the fifth step, climax, carbon moves from the soil to the canopy. Soil carbon is greatest at the outset of the fourth step, abundance, with approximately 2 to 6% soil organic matter. Each step in succession, each plant community, has corresponding soil organisms, insects, bird, fungal, and animal cohorts. The soil covered in leaf litter and logs replete with fungi is a visible indicator the site has reached the abundance step. The first step, establishment, has the lowest percent soil organic matter. Without assistance, most steps require multiple attempts before successfully making it to the next step. Trained farmers can accelerate this process via design and management. Pruning is vital to the accelerated management program. The first three steps, establishment, pioneer, and accumulation, in this succession model are devoted to acquiring nutrition into the system and transforming it into an available form with the greatest diversity of nutrients at the optimum pH for availability to the system. To completely pass from one step to another, sufficient soil development to support the new replacement community has been achieved. Lack of nutrition will lead to diseased plants and system crash by a fire, plague, etc., resulting in system reboot. New species and/or a flush of new seedlings from the previously established community sprout in a new distribution pattern, allowing for another chance at nutrient acquisition. Many of the long-term, calorie-dense crops humans enjoy are from the fourth step of abundance. Species of this step require a large amount of available fertility to perform optimally and reproduce abundantly. Lots of rotting wood, replete with fungi, is a good sign of available nutrition. The fifth step, climax, can have seedling recruitment of earlier steps littering the ground, but ultimately the pool of species capable of long lifespan is limited. Density decreases, giving rise to old, large trees at wide spacing. The combined overlap of soil composition, biome, present step in succession, target fauna, and structure-function relationships determines the tree species for the conservation agroforestry dataset. After creating an account, the user can then log in, begin a new project, and fill in the required ecological information. If your project requires assistance conforming to the NRCS or regenerative standards, you can select the appropriate box. Usually, each account will have multiple projects to manage. Projects are developed according to the unique site characteristics. A typical farm might have some low, wet areas, as well as high, dry, or flat, well-drained areas, all on the same site. Developing the whole farm into an agroforest will require organizing the farm according to similar conditions, leading to multiple projects. This is an example farm with different conditions marked as distinct project areas. Each topographical and soil drainage type found on a project site can be designed as a distinct project within the design tool environment. The corresponding pattern is applied to the farm map as needed. For each project, a planting pattern and path width dimension is selected. Each pattern has its advantages and disadvantages. Guidance about each pattern, including best use scenario and recommendations, is available by clicking the Info button. Species in the design tool are organized bioregionally. The species list is based upon your site location and conditions. The selection of species for all strata, both long and medium terms, is facilitated by a quick lookup drop-down menu. A list of suggested short-term species is provided later in the project summary. Central to the AgroforestryX design tool is canopy stratification management through time. This is achieved by scheduled pruning. Pruning is significant because it drives the engine of biological activity, fueling productivity in agroforestry systems. It also recycles nutrition by liberating carbon from the above-ground parts of the tree and returning it to the soil where it is digested and assimilated. It stimulates the tree and soil by triggering the release of growth hormones. It allows more significant light infiltration into the lower strata and is an essential preparation for storms. Pruning is best done in the dry season before hurricanes are anticipated. After determining pruning heights and diameters for each species in the project, the canopies of all strata are estimated and totaled over time, visualizing canopy changes. This allows the user to guide the project pruning parameters to optimize canopy coverage during its life cycle. The visualizations on this page are live, displaying the species binomial, common name, and family upon cursor rollover. The two-dimensional animation of the project is seen from both the side and above. The time slider can be paused or moved manually to review growth during different times. The two-dimensional animation makes it easy to recognize pruning events. Pruning synchronizes all elements in the system by slowing transpiration rates temporarily. This decreases the pressure on the water in the soil and is the perfect opportunity to admit new elements into a pre-existing system. There are also the added benefits of more sunlight reaching the ground level and the organic matter liberated from the canopy to feed the soil. The timing of pruning, as well as the methods and intensity, helps to optimize the overall system. Pruning removes dead, diseased material, recycles nutrition, stimulates growth, and creates the coarse, woody debris that drives production. The three-dimensional animation will slowly rotate unless stopped by the user by clicking on the screen. The project is rotated manually by pointing to the project while holding down the mouse key and moving to the left or right. The time slider can be paused or moved to any point in the project timeline. Coarse woody debris is cut into manageable sizes and integrated into the landscape in a way that contributes to an ergonomic and safe working environment. This is done in a way to create maximum connectivity of fungal hyphae homogeneously across the plot. Production dimensions are selected when maximum production is desired and on windy sites. Standard dimensions are selected when production is desired under modest conditions. Natural dimensions are selected when habitat with minimal canopy disturbance is desired. As you can see in this slide, canopy conflict occurs when two species of the same time period and stratum, same color, are placed too close together. Hence, their branches touch or overlap soon in growth and development, leading to conflict over light and nutrients. This will require excessive pruning to mitigate the effects. These conflicts are best dealt with during the design phase and can be predicted using the AgroforestryX design tool. When these conflicts are recognized, the user returns to the pruning parameters page to make adjustments to pruning dimensions until the conflicts are resolved. The summary report contains all of the relevant information about your project, sufficient to function as nursery list, installation layout, and management guide, greatly facilitating the care of your agroforest through time. The project summary can be printed as a PDF report or an Excel spreadsheet. 2. A bamboo pole marked with colored tape according to the stratification dimensions can be used as a pruning guide in the field. Used in conjunction with the project summary printed report, this pole facilitates measuring trees before pruning. Posted on the AgroforestryX.com website is a link to a recording of our free webinar and a user's manual with more detailed instruction about the tool. The tool is best used in Google Chrome as their translation extension makes it easy to read in more than 50 languages. Please get started turning your vision of food forest paradise into reality. Start today. It's free. This next section of the presentation is of past projects that were planted using the AgroforestryX design tool. This first project is conservation focused, incorporating a mix of traditional Pacific Island food crops and endemic tree species using pattern 1B. It is rain-fed and received minimal intervention. In this photo, the site is 4 years old. This image is from the same project site as the previous slide. There are native trees thriving along with edible crops in a hybrid ecosystem, all without irrigation. A combination of food and biomass crops together with endemic trees. The main goal of this project was to foster endemic trees and restore the ecosystem while producing food during the time of establishment. The image on the right shows native Hawaiian sandalwood producing large fruits after only 4 years. This next project site has very poor soils due to 80 years of industrial sugarcane production. The area was first cleared of pre-existing vegetation except for a breadfruit tree and coconut palm. The material was retained on site so it could be used to mulch the new planting. Then it was replanted using a design from the tool. The color-coded term stratum system used in the design phase is later applied as an installation protocol that makes it easy to move from design to the nursery and into the field. You can follow the pattern in the project report, then match the tags in the nursery with tags in the field. Organic matter from the pre-existing vegetation is organized around the planting row. This entire bed was planted and mulched. No soil was left exposed by the time it was all planted. All long and medium-term species were marked with colored flagging on bamboo stakes. Installation is made simple and fun so everyone can participate. This is just after the first 3 rows were completed. The next step is to plant the paths with grass and/or crops. 2 months later, the tree rows were overflowing with vegetables and the path was planted with grass, with a middle strip of turmeric and crotalaria for mulch. After 9 months, the short-term crops have been harvested and the medium-term species pruned hard, and the biomass was used to mulch the beds. And here it is 1 year later. This next project is on a flat area on top of a windy ridge. The goals for this project were to produce biomass, food, build soil, and establish wind-tolerant trees. It was very dry during the first few months of planting. The mulch was critical to keep everything moist. This image is from a few months later. The paths in between were planted with sorghum grass to generate biomass to feed the system. This site has only rainwater catchment for irrigation. To conserve moisture during the dry season, we planted inside nested beds of woody biomass harvested from the previous step in succession. Because of the nested beds, the plantings were able to survive the dry period. Once the rainy season began, the crops flourished, covering the whole area with photosynthetic beauty. After 1.5 to 2 years, the manioc and taro crops were harvested row by row and bananas were planted. Most of the tree seedlings persisted through the transition. As can be seen in this image, after almost 5 years, many of the tree seedlings have grown tall and the bananas are beginning to exit the system. Successful management of multi-story regenerative agroforest requires knowledge, experience, and well-timed intervention. AgroforestryX trains people from all walks of life to design, install, and manage agroforests of any scale. The team is looking forward to help transform your agroforestry vision into a design. The AgroforestryX design tool was created by AgroforestryX, a regenerative agroforestry design consultancy group. AgroforestryX specializes in increasing the capacity of its clients to design, implement, manage, and assess their multi-story agroforestry plantings. For more details, please see www.agroforestryx.com. Thank you for your time and attention.